For many people raised in high-demand religions, honesty was never simply about telling the truth. Many times, honesty was even dangerous. It's not because the truth was wrong. It's because the truth often carried consequences. The child who questioned was corrected, and so they learned not to challenge anymore. And the teenager who confessed was shamed, and so they learned not to disclose. And the woman who admitted that she was unhappy, she was told to be more faithful. And so she learned how to perform happiness so that she wouldn't look unfaithful. And the man who expressed doubt was reminded of his responsibilities, and so he learned not to complain. Now, the lesson was subtle, but it was very powerful. The truth is welcome as long as it's the right truth. And so we learned to perform. We learned to smile when we were actually grieving. And we learned to testify when we were uncertain. And that the testifying is what would bring the certainty. And we learned to say that we were blessed when we were actually exhausted. We learned to say that we forgave when we still hurt. And we learned to say that we knew the church was true when we still had a lot of doubts as to whether it really was. We learned to say yes even when every part of our body was screaming no. Most people don't realize this is even happening. They're not trying to deceive others. They're simply trying to belong and to stay safe and secure in their structures of security. And they're trying to stay connected to their family and their community and their identity and to God. And over time, something tragic occurs. That mask that was originally worn to convince others that we were acceptable, it slowly becomes the face that we show ourselves. And when that happens, we become strangers to our own anger, to our emotions at all. We become strangers to our desires. We become strangers to our grief. We become strangers to our intuition and strangers to the quiet voice inside that keeps whispering, "This is not true for me." And many people spend decades building a life around that mask. They'll build a marriage and a family around that mask, or a career, or a whole belief system. They build a reputation on that mask in their community. And then one day, that truth becomes so loud they can't ignore it anymore. And then the crack appears, and a question arises. And then a relationship ends, and a faith crisis begins, and the body breaks down, and depression settles in, and this longing inside emerges that refuses to go away. And then suddenly the life that was once felt solid begins to feel like you're wearing a costume. And that right there, that's where honesty begins. Not the honesty of telling other people the truth, the honesty of telling yourself the truth. I'm not happy here. I'm still angry inside. I'm afraid. I don't believe this anymore. I want something different with my life. I need more. I deserve more. I cannot keep abandoning myself. And that kind of honesty, it's terrifying. Because honesty often comes before the clarity, before the certainty, before the answers. Honesty is what remains when the performance ends. But honesty carries gifts that the performance never can. Honesty ends the exhausting work of managing appearances. And honesty reconnects our intuition. It builds trust in ourselves. And honesty allows us to create relationships where we're loved for who we are instead of who we pretend to be or who other people want us to be. That honesty brings our mind and our body and our heart and our actions all into alignment. And perhaps most importantly, honesty returns us back to ourselves, because no matter how beautiful a life appears from the outside, if it requires you to betray yourself in order to maintain it, it will eventually feel like a prison. The truth may cost you a version of your life, but it gives you something far more valuable in return. The truth restores you back to yourself. And there's a freedom that arrives when you no longer have to remember who you're pretending to be. when your words match your heart, and when your choices match your values, and when your life reflects your actual experience. That is integrity. It's not perfection. It's not righteousness. It's not obedience to. It's integrity. That quiet peace that comes from no longer being divided against yourself. And that's when the truth truly sets you free.